Welcome back. We've been tracking this big story across Washington all week. Republican congressman and staunch Trump ally Matt Gaetz facing a DOJ probe, facing a new ethics committee investigation related to the probe. Now, Gaetz has denied all wrongdoing. But we should know this is actually the second time the young, relatively new congressman has faced an ethics review. Statistically, most members never face a single one. But it was relatively recently in the Trump era, in 2019, when an ethics probe focused in on Gaetz publicly appearing to hassle or threaten a witness, Michael Cohen, who used to work for Trump. Many viewed it as an attempt to intimidate this key witness before providing his valuable testimony to the Congress.
Congressman, does your tweet amount to witness tampering?
Absolutely not. It's witness testing.
Should people see your tweet as a threat?
Absolutely not. I'm not threatening anyone. Michael Cohen threatens people.
The House Ethics Committee looked into that very issue, and it did ultimately admonish Gaetz for failing to, quote, exercise reasonable judgment and restraint. We should note it did not find that Gaetz was guilty of actually conducting witness tampering or witness intimidation of that valuable witness at the time, according to House investigators, Michael Cohen. Joining us now is Michael Cohen. He hosts the podcast Mea Culpa. He's the author of the book Disloyal, and he was formerly a lawyer for Donald Trump. Thanks for coming back, Michael.
How you doing, Ari? Yeah, I gave myself a little rest and relaxation for a few weeks.
Hey, we can all use it these days. Good to have you back, sir. As I mentioned, you were considered a valuable witness in that proceeding, as well as in the Mueller probe, as well as up with the New York DA. We'll get to that because it's newsworthy. But let's start with Mr. Gaetz. You both have something in common in that at one time you both have supported Donald Trump. What do you think of him, given your past clash? And what do you think he's learning right now that Donald Trump is not doing a thing to help him?
Well, he's learning nothing, but Gaetz's behavior was so brazen and so stupid that it actually boggles the mind. Because the only reasonable explanation for his behavior is that he felt that he would be protected by Donald Trump and his corrupt Justice Department. So he must have been petrified when Trump lost the election simply because now he was exposed. But you know what a lot of people don't take into consideration is Donald Trump is alleged to have done similar things with young women. So was Rudy Giuliani in the Borat movie with Sacha Baron Cohen's alleged young daughter in the movie, right? So Matt Gaetz is par and parcel. And this was all going on during the campaign anyway. Corey Lewandowski had his tryst. Jason Miller had his tryst. Rick Gates had his tryst. I mean, they're following Donald Trump's playbook. And as I explained before the House Oversight Committee, that I know the playbook and it didn't work for me, and it's certainly not going to work for you. So Matt Gaetz really needs to smarten up and understand that he's in very serious trouble.
What did you think of the New York Times report that had multiple sources saying Mr. Gaetz was seeking a blanket pardon for what conduct I suppose only he would know in his mind that he wanted a pardon?
Right. Well, good luck. If Donald Trump wasn't going to benefit from that pocket pardon, then there's no way that he was going to get it. And I actually have to give a lot of credit to the New York Times as well as to the Daily Beast for uncovering this. Because, this thing is great fodder for Saturday Night Live and all of the comedians. Because if you think about it, right, the best part of this is the fact that Gaetz actually paid for sex using Venmo, right, and then titled the payments tuition in school. In all fairness, this dope should have as well linked his Instagram account to his Seeking Arrangements account. That's how stupid that he is. He has to understand, and his Venmo account is on open public, meaning everybody can see what transactions are going on. And yet this is the representative that the people of Florida have chosen? I don't get it.
One of the other things that came to light in all this was all these types of relationships. I'm going to put up a text here on the screen. This came up from the ethics probe, where Hannity is talking to Matt Gaetz. Hannity says it's smart to pull down this thing about you. It'll pass. Gaetz asks, how long should I lay low? Hannity says just a little while. Maybe send a note to Michael privately. Can you shed any light on that? And what do you say to critics, past critics of yourself included, and Hannity and Gaetz, that it feels sometimes like there's a game in public where folks are interviewing, Hannity's interviewing this or that person, be it Gates, or saying to you, oh, he's going to ask you questions. Then it turns out that you guys have, he said, some sort of lawyer-client relationship. He's advising Gates behind the scenes. What light can you shed on all of this?
Well, I thought it was very disingenuous of Sean, right? One day he's calling me, trying to pretend to be my buddy, having me on. Basically, what he really did is he was using Trump to the same extent Trump was using him. And so when Gates finally realized that he was in big trouble with the ethics department, he, of course, turned to Sean Hannity, knowing that Sean was a friend of mine. And then Sean is actually the one who drafted the apology to me, telling him to send it to me, knowing that I would accept the apology because I didn't particularly care much about Matt Gaetz. What I cared about was the fact that it hurt my family. And that was something that I was not going to put up with.
Just quickly, because then I want to get you on New York. You're saying that Sean Hannity was being, in your view, sort of duplicitous, that he was playing both of you, but he was actually writing the apology you were going to get ostensibly from Gates?
That's correct. That's correct. And I think it's really terrible. I mean, if Sean was smart, he would have just told him, step away from politics, right? Maybe go try to find yourself a spot on Fox or Newsmax, right? And try to take over that Chris Hansen role on, reboot the program to catch a predator, because I think Matt Gaetz would be perfect for the role.
Yeah, well, and according to what you're saying, it's sort of Sean Hannity playing his own sort of political Cyrano de Bergerac on the side, which is a little odd. The text corroborate some of that because he's in this role appearing to counsel the member of Congress. I got to get you on this other news, Michael, which is the criminal probe into Trump's financial dealings in New York. The Manhattan DA now seizing several boxes of financial records. This from the former daughter-in-law of Trump's money man, Alan Weisselberg. You were very much in a knowledgeable place here. Indeed, you also testified previously about Weisselberg, why he was key. This was to Congress.
In the office with me was Alan Weisselberg, the chief financial officer of the Trump Organization. Alan Weisselberg made the decision, always Alan Weisselberg on the check. Mr. Weisselberg, for sure.
What do you know about where this investigation is going? What, if anything, can you tell us relevant to the fact that you, of course, have been cooperating and testified several times?
Right. So obviously the cooperation is not over. The district attorney's office has millions of pages of documents without the documents provided by Jen Weisselberg, without the additional documents that I am providing and have provided. They have millions of pages of tax documents and so on of Mr. Trump's, the Trump Organization, and other people. I really don't want to get into the sum and substance of the topics, though many have been already discussed and provided and information provided by the press, because I really want to respect the process and respect Mark Pomerantz, who has a heck of a job ahead of him. You may have seen I put out a tweet the other day complimenting the Trump Organization on the hiring of Mr. Fischetti, who is a very well-seasoned criminal defense attorney. But the problem for Mr. Fischetti, the problem for Donald Trump and the Trump Organization is that the truth is the truth, and that the truth will always come out, to which case it doesn't matter who your lawyer is. You may as well have Mark Mukasey, which is the lawyer that Trump recommended now to Matt Gaetz.